like the four groups you just mentioned, we're all really doing tremendously well at the moment, like you say.
Wolverhampton's got a #1 album too.
Yeah, it really is, yeah.
And he really enjoys having it said to him, Bruce, yeah, that Bruce.
Jeff Lynne heard the Beatles and decided his life's mission. Take rock and roll, add orchestras, make it perfect. Not almost perfect, actually perfect. Every note in place, every harmony stacked precisely, every sound polished until it gleamed. Some called him obsessive. Lynne called it caring. While others accepted good enough, he chased ideal.
Literally inspired it, like Mr. Blue Sky. I was actually in Switzerland and it was cloudy all the time. I just got there, I'd been there about a week.
Spent weeks getting one guitar tone right. Months layering vocals. Years building albums that would last forever. Birmingham gave him his start. The Move gave him his training. But the Electric Light Orchestra gave him freedom. Finally, he could do what he'd been dreaming. Put cellos in rock songs, build symphonies from pop hooks, create sounds so lush they felt like falling into clouds. Critics said it was too much. Fans disagreed. They heard someone taking music seriously, treating 3-minute songs like they were cathedrals. Later, Lynne became the producer everyone wanted. George Harrison, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, the Traveling Wilburys. Each collaboration showed the same fingerprints, clarity, warmth, that signature sheen. Behind it all were 7 albums he studied like scripture, records that showed him what production could achieve. How far you could push perfection before it became sterile. Where the line was between polish and soul. Here are Jeff Lynne's 7 favorite albums. Subscribe if details matter. Which one shaped modern production most? 7. Runaway with Del Shannon. Jeff Lynne discovered Del Shannon's 1961 debut and heard the future. Runaway featured something unprecedented. A musitron organ creating sounds nobody had used in pop before. That weird, spacey solo. Shannon's voice cracking with genuine emotion. The production was raw but inventive. Max Crook on that musitron created texture that was almost otherworldly. Lynne heard someone taking risks, using technology creatively, making pop music strange and wonderful.
Waiting to do. And so that's what we did, and we just got in touch with everybody, and everybody was ready to just carry on.
Shannon wrote hits, but never talked down to audiences. Runaway told real stories about real heartbreak. The arrangements served emotion without drowning it. That balance fascinated young Lynne. How do you make something slick without losing honesty? Shannon found the answer. Professional production meeting authentic feeling. Later, Lynne would chase that same balance. ELO's orchestrations were elaborate, but underneath lived real songs about real emotions. What stuck with Lynne was Shannon's fearlessness with new sounds. That musitron shouldn't have worked. It worked perfectly. Became iconic. This taught Lynne that unusual choices could become signature sounds. Later, he'd use a vocoder on Mr. Blue Sky. Synthesizers blended with strings on countless ELO tracks. Taking chances Shannon's way, making weird, beautiful things, making technology emotional. Del Shannon proved pop could be adventurous. That radio hits didn't require generic production. That innovation attracted audiences rather than repelled them. 6. Crying Roy Orbison's 1962 album destroyed Jeff Lynne emotionally.
All alone and crying.
That voice reached places other singers couldn't access. Orbison sang in operatic range with a rock and roll heart. Crying built from whisper to wail. The production by Fred Foster was sparse but effective. Strings sweeping in at perfect moments. Backing vocals supporting without competing. Everything designed to showcase that impossible voice. Lynne studied this.
Wow, you've done it. Well done, and he gave me a great big hug.
How restraint in production could amplify rather than diminish. Orbison's melodies were complex, not standard verse-chorus structures. Songs that wandered through different sections, building toward climactic moments then pulling back. Running scared, crescendoed continuously until the final note. No chorus, just escalating drama. This approach influenced Lynne's compositional style. ELO songs often featured multiple sections, key changes, dramatic builds, learning from Orbison's fearless song construction. What moved Lynne most was the emotion. Orbison sang like his heart was actually breaking. No irony, no distance, pure vulnerability wrapped in perfect technique. That combination was rare. Later, Lynne would produce Orbison for the Traveling Wilburys, getting to work with his hero. The experience confirmed what the records taught. Orbison never faked anything. Every note was genuine. Roy Orbison showed Jeff Lynne that technical excellence and emotional honesty weren't enemies. That perfect pitch could carry perfect pain. That craftsmanship served the feeling. 5. Pet Sounds. Brian Wilson's 1966 masterpiece gave Jeff Lynne his production Bible.
Might come true. Run, baby, then there wouldn't.
Pet Sounds was everything Lynne wanted music to be. Sophisticated arrangements meeting perfect pop melodies. Wilson used bizarre instruments, bicycle bells, dog barks, soda cans filled with different liquid levels for percussion. But nothing felt gimmicky. Everything served the emotional core. God Only Knows was possibly the most beautiful song ever recorded.
I went, wow, this is fun. You know, it's like, this is going to be fun to do this. And then instead of just...
Wouldn't It Be Nice ached with yearning. Wilson proved complexity could be accessible. The vocal harmonies were mathematical perfection, layered until they became instruments themselves. Lynne dissected these arrangements. How Wilson stacked voices. Which intervals created which emotions. Later, ELO's vocal layers would reflect this obsession. Mr. Blue Sky featured dozens of vocal tracks. All Lynne's voice multiplied into choir. Wilson showed this was possible. It was glorious. Wilson's studio techniques revolutionized Lynne's thinking. Recording instruments at different speeds, building tracks layer by layer, using the mixing board as a compositional tool. The studio wasn't just for capturing performances, it was for creating sounds impossible to reproduce live. This philosophy became Lynne's foundation. ELO records were studio creations, perfected pieces of audio architecture. Pet Sounds taught Jeff Lynne that ambition was necessary, that pop music deserved obsessive attention, that spending months on one album wasn't a waste, it was worship. 4. The shadows before the Beatles consumed him. Jeff Lynne worshipped the shadows. Their 1961 self-titled album showcased instrumental rock at its finest. Hank Marvin's guitar tone was revolutionary, clean, bright, drenched in echo. Apache and FBI were melodies you couldn't forget. No vocals needed. The guitar sang everything necessary. Lynne studied Marvin's technique, how he made 6 strings tell complete stories, how tone was as important as notes played. The Shadows' arrangements were meticulous. Every instrument had a precise role. Bruce Welch's rhythm guitar provided the foundation. Jet Harris's bass walked melodic lines. Tony Meehan's drums pushed without overwhelming. The production was crisp. Everything is audible. No mud, no confusion, just clarity. Lynne absorbed this lesson. Later, ELO's densest productions maintained this clarity. 30 instruments playing simultaneously, but each occupying its own frequency, its own space. What Lynne loved was the Shadows' professionalism. They rehearsed until perfect, recorded efficiently, made the difficult seem effortless. This work ethic became Lynne's standard. He'd spend days getting one guitar part right, weeks perfecting drum sounds. Not because he enjoyed tedium, because he respected the music enough to get it right. The Shadows proved British musicians could innovate, could create rather than just imitate American rock. That Birmingham could produce world-class sounds. Lynne carried this belief throughout his career. 3. Rubber Soul. Jeff Lynne called Rubber Soul the moment everything changed.
Just say, I don't have much to say.
Released in 1965, this caught the Beatles evolving. Still pop, still accessible, but deeper now. Norwegian Wood introduced sitar to rock. In My Life achieved lyrical maturity unheard of in pop music. Nowhere Man questioned existence itself. The album worked as a unified statement, not just singles with filler. Lynne recognized this as a template. Albums could be art objects, complete experiences. George Martin's production was becoming adventurous. Double-tracking vocals, unusual microphone placements, the studio as creative partner. Lynne studied every choice, how they got that jangly Rickenbacker sound, how the harmonies locked together flawlessly. Rubber Soul was recorded quickly but sounded considered. That paradox intrigued him, spontaneity and craftsmanship coexisting. The songwriting evolution fascinated Lynne most. Lennon and McCartney pushing beyond love songs, writing about loneliness, doubt, introspection, but keeping melodies irresistible. This balance became Lynne's goal. ELO songs could be about alienation or time travel, but they had to have hooks you'd hum for days. Substance and catchiness weren't opposites. Rubber Soul proved it conclusively. This album showed Lynne that the Beatles were more than a rock band. They were composers, innovators, artists refusing to repeat themselves. Every subsequent Beatles album pushed further. Lynne watched that evolution religiously, took notes, applied lessons. 2. Abbey Road.
Got hair down to his knee.
Jeff Lynne considered Abbey Road the Beatles' sonic peak. Released in 1969, this was Martin and the band at maximum powers. The production was immaculate. Every instrument recorded beautifully. The guitar tone on Come Together was thick and mysterious. The bass on Something was melodic perfection. The drums throughout were crisp without being harsh. This was how records should sound. This was the standard. Side 2's medley gave Lynne his roadmap. Multiple songs flowing seamlessly, different styles, different moods, all connected into one journey. You Never Give Me Your Money, into Sun King, into Mean Mr. Mustard and beyond. This showed that albums could have narrative flow, could be experienced rather than just heard. Later, ELO's Out of the Blue would use this exact concept. Long suites, interconnected pieces, musical storytelling. The orchestration was sophisticated yet served the songs. She's Leaving Home featured harp and strings creating a cinematic atmosphere, never overwhelming the melody, always enhancing. Lynne studied these arrangements note by note. How strings could add drama, how brass could add power, how to blend acoustic and electric seamlessly. Abbey Road was the Beatles' goodbye. They made it count. Every track was essential, nothing wasted. Lynne learned that Swan songs should be definitive, should represent everything you've learned. Show your full capabilities one last time. 1. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Jeff Lynne's number 1 was inevitable. Sgt. Pepper's from 1967 was the album that made him form Electric Light Orchestra. The Beatles had done what Lynne dreamed about, merged rock with classical, used orchestra as an equal partner to guitars, made concept albums commercially successful. Proven pop could be progressive without being pretentious. This was the blueprint. This was permission. Every innovation fascinated Lynne. The backwards guitar on I'm Only Sleeping. The orchestra ascended into chaos on A Day in the Life. The use of harpsichord, sitar, circus organs, nothing was off limits. If it served the song, it belonged. This fearlessness became Lynne's approach. Later, he'd use vocoders, synthesizers, orchestras all in the same track, following Pepper's example. If the Beatles could do it, so could he. The production took months, 700 studio hours. Martin and the Beatles built it layer by layer. This showed Lynne that great albums required time, patience, perfectionism. You couldn't rush genius. Later, Lynne would take similar time, building ELO albums slowly, getting every detail right. Sgt. Pepper's validated this approach. This album proved rock could be art, could be taken seriously, could push boundaries while remaining accessible. It was Jeff Lynne's North Star. Everything ELO started here, in these grooves, this vision, this perfect record. Jeff Lynne never stopped chasing perfection. These 7 albums taught him craft, courage, and vision. His productions gleamed because these masters showed him polish didn't mean soulless. What album changed your standards? Share below. Subscribe for stories about perfectionism as devotion, about details as love letters.